Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome into another episode of Pickup Lines presented by Gomez Law Firm, Integrity Roofing and Siding, and the Savinol Group. We are live once again inside the all-electric Lexus RZ 450e, courtesy of North Park Lexus of San Antonio and North Park Lexus at Dominion. And, you know, I've interviewed thousands of people over the years, and I'm not exaggerating, thousands of people. Every once in a while, a legend comes along. And you can count those on a couple of hands. And my guest today certainly fits that billing.
Thank you.
Ma Alice Harper, the Ma Harper, is here. And I'm going to have to check your ID in a little bit because Birdie told me you turned 95 years old recently.
The 2nd of August.
August 2nd. So this was, and hold on a second, while we're doing this here, we've got Swamp water. Is this for me or for Mel Harper?
Ernie.
Oh, this is for me. Okay.
And then Mom's,
I got you.
has her watermelon.
So Ma Harper has her specific drink here. We want to make sure that you stay hydrated and everything because we're gonna do some talking here. And I should mention, because you can put that right there, you might detect a little bit of a raspiness in your voice. You're currently battling throat cancer.
Vocal cord, yeah.
Vocal cord cancer. But you're doing okay. And I specifically said, no, we'll do this some other time. We don't have to do this right now. And you weren't having it. You said you wanted to do this.
I'm not a quitter.
That is true. That is, yes. You can definitely say that about Ma Harper. She's not a quitter. I'm honored to be here outside your restaurant once again. And perhaps if we're good, maybe the Creole gods will bring us some food here in just a little while.
I hope they will.
I hope so. Let me start with this, because obviously 95 years, what a life you've lived, and you've got many more things to do. But the first thing that struck me, you were born in 1929, and I did not know this. Your father was Olivia Martinez. You've got Latin blood in you?
A little bit of it all.
Well, my mother's maiden name was Martinez, so we might be related.
No telling.
In 1929, what are your earliest? You were born in New Orleans. What are your earliest?
Westside.
What are your earliest memories of your childhood, or what's the first thing, the earliest memory you have as a little girl?
When I was about, 4 or 5, I was always one that wanted to see what everybody was doing. And as I grew older, my mother had a block that I stood on at the stove to cook because, I wanted to do that.
I read that you started cooking at around age 12 because essentially you didn't want to do some of the other chores. You got
sure. Second oldest of 16, there was a lot of work to be done.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. So you're the second oldest of 16 kids. And I had read that you started cooking because back then, doing laundry might not seem like a big deal now. But back then, in the 1930s, during the Great Depression, you are using
a scrub board.
A scrub board.
Oh, they call it a washboard.
A washboard, one article at a time. Very meticulous, hard labor to get those stains out and everything. And then I guess you would hang everything on a clothesline, or
you hang it on a line and the fence.
Not like today where you just throw it in a magic washing machine or a dryer. And
after a while, they invented the wash machine with the wringer.
Like a crank or something and it would spin. So it was
you had to spin.
You had to spin it, but it would
put the clothes in and let it spin.
But you still didn't want to do that. You wanted to cook. So
that was work.
So cooking. What were some of the first things that you cooked as a young girl, as a tween or a teenage girl?
Well, like I said, 10, 11, I knew how to cook beans.
But you're in New Orleans, so
because beans went further. Every day you had a different bean: red bean, white bean, butter beans, etc. Because it stretched, it fed more children. And it's not hard to cook if you learn how.
Right.
The thing that, to me, is people don't realize you have to pick them and clean them and wash them.
Yeah.
And now that I've been in, well, I guess all my life,
Right.
I learned different techniques that allow you to cook them faster.
Yeah, and the technology has gotten better and everything. And I should mention, we're outside your restaurant. Today is like a prep day, right? You're not open today, but tomorrow you open up again and you feed everybody who's been coming here. Ma Harper's Creole Kitchen.
And I was raised,
Yes?
that's a little bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, so I was talking about your parents. What did your parents do for a living, or how did they bring in income to support all the kids?
My father came to the country on a fruit boat. We lived at the port of well, everything came to New Orleans, and it was a port of embarkation where all the ships came in with their items. And my father came on the fruit boat from Kingston, Jamaica. And when the war broke out, then they sent everybody that jumped ship back to their native
This is
country.
World War I that broke out.
When the war broke out, yeah.
This is before you came on the scene, right? You weren't.
No, my dad, it was World War II.
Oh, well, okay, in the
Yeah,
40s then. Okay.
Yeah.
I see. And then, but he ended up like you said, in New Orleans, and then they had the family and all the children and
We
everything.
had to send him back to his country. And that's when my mother, way back then, they called it WPA, which is welfare.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave you commodities, no food stamp. You got the food and, the partial needs.
Right.
And then my mother, being half Indian, she worked domestic.
Right.
And she would go and get the bundles, bring them back, rewash them, and iron them. And she'd take them back to wherever she was working.
So your mother, because her maiden name was Perkins, right?
Yeah.
So she's got the Native American heritage. Your father, do you know where his family originally came from, the Martinezes?
Jamaica.
It was Jamaica. Okay. That's where, wow. And
Kingston, Jamaica.
Kingston, Jamaica. Okay.
Because I brought that picture for you to see when my dad left. I was, I'd say about 9. No, not that old. About 8.
You were a little
9.
girl.
Yeah,
You were a little girl. Yeah.
About that high.
So you start cooking at 12.
Originally cooking, but you learn to cook,
Right.
Younger than that.
Yeah. Because there are a lot of mouths to feed in your house and everything.
Well, every time a baby came in,
Right.
I walked out.
Yeah, exactly. So education-wise, you're going to school at
Well,
the same time, or how's that happening?
they call it a schoolhouse, where everybody was in that one
Building.
This is way back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it was just times were very hard. And you learn to accept. Well, I did. I learned to accept, I guess, a part of my father's heritage, independent.
Right.
So I did a lot.
You had to.
Different from my other siblings.
Right.
I always was thinking there's a better way.
Right.
Okay, you could do it this way.
Right.
I know what it is to cook on a heater.
Mm-hmm.
We had an oil heater with 2 burners. And you get up, put one little pot there, one little pot there. I went through, you call it a fireplace.
Right.
Well, the last person up, make sure the fire's out.
Before you go to bed. Yeah.
And then I would always wait till it died down.
Yeah.
And I'd put everything in it. And in the morning, I'd jump up, pull a little oil on it, light it.
And off you go.
I was always, what would you, thinking.
Yeah.
I was always thinking.
Thinking ahead and planning and all
Yeah,
that
because
stuff.
real quick,
Yeah.
they say iron sharpens iron.
Right.
But the mind sharpens the body.
Okay.
You can do anything as long as you think you could do it.
Right, right. And at 95 years old, you seem as sharp and with it as ever, as maybe when you were 45 years old or 35 years old. What do you attribute that to?
My real thing is, I have a problem because I talk a lot.
I can relate to
But
that.
anything you keep active will not die.
Okay.
I use simplicity. If you have a car and you never drive it, the battery dies.
Okay.
So what good is it?
Okay.
So if you have a mind that you don't activate,
Right.
you never go forward.
I hear you. Okay. Okay. So let's go back to high school. You did not finish high school.
No, I went to elementary school way back where you stood in line and said the American Legion and the All Father prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Then you went in class. And when the elementary grade went up to 6th grade,
Right.
and then when you got 7th grade, then you went to another school.
Okay.
And I personally went 8th, 9th, and the 10th.
Okay.
And by that time, I was a teenager and ready to get out of the house. So,
You weren't rebellious, were you? Like
yes, I was.
you weren't misbehaving, were you? Uh-oh. No comment. No comment.
Well, to be honest, Ernie, real quick,
Okay, go ahead.
whatever come up came out, and it wasn't good all the time. And I learned a lot, a whole lot,
Right.
and I try to pass it on so I don't feel inferior
Right.
anymore. But if you think about it, we were raised that you're not supposed to talk a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That was one.
Okay.
Number two, yes ma'am, no ma'am,
Manners.
yeah, but manners don't have to be in that way. Yes, no, it's not what you say,
Right.
it's how you say it.
Got it.
So, me telling you yes is the same as yes sir. Listen at the difference.
Okay.
Yes. And Ernie, no matter what, always think, if my mouth doesn't say it, check my face. My expression will tell you what I'm thinking.
Right.
Why? Your eyes is your camera.
Yes.
Come on now. Your mind is the receiver,
Okay.
but your thoughts is the deceiver.
So much knowledge. Okay, okay, very good. I like it. I like it. Welcome in everybody who's watching. Marquise Torres Rodriguez says, Miss Alice. So you've got some people watching, and welcome in if you're able to like this or share this. I think it's so important that people hear from Harper, someone who's had these amazing life experiences and this life story and everything. So you left, you got married at a young age, and went on and grew up pretty quickly.
Yes, I work at WFW Woolworks, $3 a week on Rampart and Canal. Before I got a job like that, I worked in a shrimp factory peeling shrimp,
Right.
knee high. I worked in the oyster factory shucking oysters, plucking crabs.
And this is all still in Louisiana.
I
Right.
did domestic housework, and I always wanted to be busy.
Right, but you were married at the time.
Yeah.
You were married, and then
Yeah.
ultimately, kind of fast forward a little bit later on, how you got to San Antonio was through your husband and his
Now-
military.
Yeah, well, the husband I have now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see.
And I've been in San Antonio 56 years.
And by the way, I mean not to diminish your military service, because you're an Air Force veteran, and
No, I worked for the government. I was a civil service aircraft mechanic.
You worked at Kelly though, right?
I worked at Kelly almost 22 years. I worked on the fighter jet F-15, F-16. I worked on the 108, 107 fuel pumps. I worked electronic, putting things together.
So you carrying around tools and just doing...
If anybody's listening that's going to buy a house, the first question you ask the seller, how is this house wired? If he can't answer you, don't buy it. Because it's either parallel or series. Now, let me explain real quick.
Okay.
A house, if you ever seen a house on fire and half of the roof is still standing, it was parallel, which means when the fire broke out, the circuits on one of them cut off.
Okay.
If it's series, you notice the whole roof burns.
Right.
Because it's one wire going all around.
I got it. Okay. Goodness gracious, this is great. So you did your I call it military service. You said you were a civil servant. You worked at Kelly and you were doing all those things. And then at some point, was it after that you decided to kind of pick up or go more in on your cooking and the culinary side?
Well, everybody at work, because I bring them homemade biscuits and I would cook and everything. And one of my supervisors was named Mr. Martinez. And he came to me one morning and he said, Alicia. I said, yes, sir. And I said, yes.
Yeah.
He said, do you know who you are? And I said, I guess. Alice Olivia Martinez, Harper. He said, no. He said, I was 53 years old. He said, why don't you go get your GED? I said, man, you think I'm going to let them laugh at me? I've been out of school all these years. Mm-hmm. I got kids graduated and everything. So I went. And the first time I went, Ernie, I tell everybody, there's a 4-letter word called F-E-A-R. It can control. F-A-I-T-H is a 5-letter. You already dominated 4 when you put 5. Fear is captivity of the mind. Faith is activity of your mind, believing you can do all things through Christ that strengthens you. So when I failed, the instructor handed me the paper back, and I hadn't looked at the score, Ernie, so I thought I had did it.
Right.
She said, do it over. Oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
She said, let go, do it over. You know it. And then I began to help the students.
Yeah.
It was fear that had me tied up.
I get
Don't ever let fear tie you down. Fear is not faith. Fear makes the mind wonder, to doubt. Faith in God gives you power. That's why faith is so powerful to me.
Yeah. Did you grow up in a very religious household? Your church every Sunday, that kind of thing?
You had no choice.
Had to go.
Twice a day on Sunday.
Twice.
And then, you went to Sunday school, and you went to church.
I see.
No, it was 3 times. You had BYP, you went to Sunday school, then you stayed for 11 o'clock, go home and eat, then come back for 6 o'clock.
Oh, goodness. Okay. So you had a lot of that ingrained in you. And you got your GED in the early 1980s, I believe, right? You said you were in your 50s already.
Yeah.
And then, so you had that sense of accomplishment. You were able to do that. When did you decide that you wanted to open a restaurant, and how did that happen?
When I was a kid. When you fix food for that amount of kids, you know, the mind, well, that's like a restaurant.
You were essentially running a restaurant every day at home.
And I want to leave this with everybody. God knows your thoughts, and he will activate them if you have faith to believe in you. And I believe that I'm feeding all these kids. I can work. And that's how I got my job at F.W. Woolworks.
Right.
When I was about 18. And for $3 a week, Ernie.
$3 a week. So
Yeah.
you were 18, that would have been like 1947.
Yeah, you know.
And you're
and
pulling...
believe it or not, a lot of people don't realize when you face the truth of reality, it makes you strong. I worked in the lunch department.
Right.
I'm serving, but I had to go to the rest where you change uniform to eat.
Oh.
Well, let me tell you, to the other people different from me, that was a process of learning to accept where you are, what's going on, and believe that there's a better day.
Because I was afraid you were going to say something like that. That I was wondering what kind of discrimination or just the kind of racial stuff that you had to deal with in your youth. Or...
Oh yeah, well, you know, I always thought big.
Yeah, you still do. By the way.
Because when you get on the bus, there were barriers.
Yeah.
And when I got on the bus, if it wasn't but one seat above the barrier, I stood up. And people don't know, but because of my illness way back, which was asthma, then I went to Straits Business College, where you could just sit. But I went because they sent me, but it never was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
To me, you know, ain't nothing wrong with it, but I'm an active person.
Right.
And back on that same note, I don't know how it's accepted.
Yeah.
But God created us all equally, just not alike. And I grew up with that.
Right.
Because I had cousins and aunts of different, as my mother was a 13th child of my grandmother.
Oh, goodness.
And, you know, we had a mixture of family.
Sure.
And they call them Creoles.
Right. Your family tree is gigantic, and I'm sure amazing.
And, you know, it has no color.
Amen to that. You mentioned the bus and everything, and I think it's interesting because you go inside your restaurant. I mean, you serve food here, but it looks like a museum. And I know one of the centerpieces, or one of the countless awards you have, was an award inspired by the late Rosa Parks that you received, I think, for your 90th birthday.
Why I got that? I went to a conference, and one of the deans from Troy College was there. And my mouth always get me in. And so we were talking, and I'm not going to say what really came up, but
Okay, all right.
I stood up. I said, well, one of the things that really got me, Ernie, was the fact one of the speakers was speaking of today, and in the last days, there won't be no mom and pops and etc. And I stood up and I said, I don't know about no other mom and pop, but this mom will be around till God changes. And that guy, I don't know what he felt.
Right.
He brought it.
Yeah.
He said he had never seen another person as bold as I was besides Rosa Parks.
And that's saying something. I mean, that's...
Because she didn't get up.
That's... And the rest is history, as they say. I mean, just one decision like that. I want to bring out here because, again, I would need 3 U-Haul trucks to have all the awards and certificates and proclamations that Ma Harper has received. I think the most recent one is...
I want you to talk.
We'll get to that here in just a minute. I mean, we can go 2 hours if we need to here. And I want to show it here. You got this proclamation last week. It's pretty big. But this was from the Bexar County Commissioners. You were at Commissioner's Court. They brought you out there in honor of your 95th birthday. And that was pretty cool.
I appreciate it.
Commissioner Calvert, Judge Sakai, and all the county commissioners. And then you talked about, there's some other awards. You got a proclamation from Constable, Catherine Brown, who gave you this proclamation. It's really cool. I love these patches.
And a pin.
And yes, ma'am. And in the challenge coins.
Yeah.
You got a challenge coin as well. But it literally is like a museum in there. I mean, you know that, right? I mean, you've got so many unbelievable... You've got sports memorabilia. You've got... I'm sure any number of athletes... Guy Fieri from Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives has been here. Spurs players. Mike Rowe, who is another famous reality...
David Robinson.
The Admiral.
We worked together when he was playing basketball, and it was called Feed My Sheep. Feed My Sheep.
You mentioned something you wanted to talk about, your health and everything, because I mentioned right now, like as we speak, you're going through vocal cord.
Yeah, I stressed out and it attacked my vocal cord again.
But she's still moving on. Again, I told her we could postpone this, and she said, enough, stop. You had a brain stroke earlier in your life, and at the time, I think a lot of people thought, I mean, not to be ugly or anything, they thought you were crazy, like you were losing your mind. Because, I mean, obviously it affects your brain, but what do you remember from that time?
Well, when I said I was going back to school and etc., well, they said no, and the doctor stated that I'd never be able to, my left eye.
You wouldn't be able to see, or it wouldn't function?
Like normal. And so I just told them, I'm not a quitter.
Right.
Nothing's going to stop me but the man that birthed me. And this is why I said, the difference between a stepping stone and a stumbling block is that you learn nothing from. And here go again. 5 is greater than 4. Faith.
Fear. So, let me ask you this. 95 years old. Why? Why do you continue? Why are you here at this restaurant? Why are you still doing all of this when you could very easily be at home relaxing, doing whatever it is that is a passion in your life? Why do you continue? What continues to bring you here every day?
The love of people. Even though they may not be my friend, but I love them. Because the Word of God said, love you one another as I loved you. I gave my life for you. And God is your keeper, but you are your brother's keeper. And it also say, love thy neighbor as thyself. That's hard to do, Ernie. Because you walk out, and I don't care when, you walk out and say, good morning, what's good about it? What?
Yeah.
You're alive. Don't fret, don't sweat. God woke you up, ain't through yet.
I love it. Do you just make this stuff up, or how do you come up with this
Let's
stuff?
look at it this way.
Okay.
There's no victory without a fight.
That's true.
There's no daylight without a night. There's no purchase without a cost. Why? He paid it on the cross.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, the one that I'm doing a lot of, I do a lot of that. And the one that really sticks close for today, Lord, make me strong while things are going wrong. Let me live as it's the last day point may be, because tomorrow is not promised me.
I'm not left speechless very often, but this is what I wanted to accomplish with this show, because you and I talked how many times on the news over the years. But when we did those segments, it was 3 or 4 minutes. You're cooking gumbo or you're making red beans and rice, and we're talking, and the producer's talking to me, and we got to go to commercial and all this stuff. And I felt like it was rushed, and we couldn't get into some of these things. But this is exactly why I've always wanted to do something like this, is so that I could just soak this in for half an hour.
Well, let's think about it. There is no one, no matter color, race, anything you want,
Right.
God, that God does not wake up, because man don't wake himself up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I look at it, I like to talk, but I like to talk positive, because positive thinking
Right.
brings positive action.
And it's right on cue. As you're saying that, I see out of the corner of my eye our friend Happy Buttles, who's here. Look at this. It's as if it's positive food. Look at this. I could not come here in good faith and good conscience. Thank you, Happy. All right, I could not come here without, and I haven't eaten all day, by the way. I have not eaten this morning.
I got to take my medicine for
So I want to see what we have here. Oh my goodness, great! I'm going to remove the utensils so people can see. This is well, hold on a second. I want to do this justice here. This is a shrimp po' boy, right?
Yeah, it looks like.
By the way, I found out something about you that I did not know. Another thing I didn't know about you. I'm going to put this away here for a second. You have 2 of your children, I believe, work here at the restaurant, but you have twins.
Right.
I have twins, but I didn't know that about you either.
Well, my twins are 56 years old this year.
And they work for you here, and they're.
Yeah.
I got to visit with one
Well,
of them earlier.
the one that was here, she did 32 years at Randolph.
I'm sorry. I want people to see this cornbread here. Oh my gosh, this is
Scratch.
made from scratch. Do you mind if I Do you mind if I
don't mind.
take a bite while we're talking here? So you're saying your twins have been working for you here for a while?
Well, yeah, but the one here retired from Randolph,
Right.
and the other one was at Kelly.
Right.
And they were born here in Perry, but in Louisiana, they didn't really, I guess they just put them on the retard. And because of me,
Right. You weren't going to have that.
well, I mean, I had to do what I had to do.
Right. Right.
So I taught all my children that the world has something for you, but you need to take something to get it.
Okay. Okay.
That makes sense?
It does. It does make sense. It does.
Well, I simplified. Can you go to the bank and write a check if you didn't deposit?
If you don't have any money, no, you cannot. Not legally, at least.
You get it?
I get it. I get it. I get this too. Because this is so the cornbread recipe and the gumbo recipe, all these recipes. Are these all your originals, or did your mother? Did you take any of this from your mother or your father?
Be honest, I took the way I was raised mentally.
Right.
We don't have to eat like that anymore.
Right.
Because we ate everything off the hog but the hair.
Nothing went to waste.
The feet, the ear, everything.
All of it. All of it.
All of it. The tail, everything.
Look at that. I don't want to tip it over and pour it all over my car, but this is.
Please don't.
This is I mean, if my car smelled like gumbo for the rest of the year, that's not a terrible thing. But
You better blow it.
is it really hot?
I don't know. Happy brought it.
Nope. It's good. Good temperature.
Okay.
So this is something. How long did it take you to perfect or to get to where this is now? Like in terms of getting the recipe going.
Well, when I had physical issues, I don't cook with a lot of grease. You know, I learned any cook, every time you cook, an idea come and you'll put something and get a different taste or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And that's what I do. And I tell my customers, stop buying Jiffy. You're only buying flour and cornmeal. Because you got to use your own egg, your own milk,
Right.
your own everything. So why buy it? Just get you some flour, some cornmeal. Keep it in your house.
Well, I don't want to be rude and eat in front of you here. Well, but I'll dig into this in just a little bit. Is the gumbo by far the most popular thing you sell here?
It's around the world. People come from all over the world.
Literally, like you're not exaggerating.
No.
And how much will you make in a given, I don't know, week or month, or do you keep track of
Well, since I don't open every day,
that? Right.
you know, I don't know. I sell gumbo 365 days if I'm open.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking about maybe just saying my Harper's Gumbo House, less work.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You can do that after you turn 100.
The prepping of gumbo, I tell everybody, stop standing over the stove browning flour for an hour. Put that flour in a pan.
Okay.
Put it in the oven on 300. Anything you put in the oven, brown around the side first.
Okay.
So just keep going, turn it over. No water, no oil. Just till it get a nice color. Take it out. It's going to have lumps. Sift it. Put it in a jar.
Oh, and store it that way.
Well, it's a shelf item.
Yeah, it's non-perishable. Unbelievable. Don't give away too many of your secrets.
Well, I ain't never seen a U-Haul go behind a hearse.
Okay, let me ask you one more thing. Just about mortality and everything. 95 years. Do you think about, being 100 years old? I mean, you look and you seem like you're in just top physical health, all things considered. You are not stopping. You're not slowing down. How much do you think about your own mortality and just how much more you'd like to do?
Until you tell me to stop.
Whenever that is.
Excuse me, I had a rhyme when I made 89. I said, 89, don't mind dying. I'm going to live 129. So every year I think of that 129.
So you're 34 years away. You still got time.
Whatever time he say, okay.
Whatever time. Okay. I think my wife is losing her mind about the flour technique you said about browning the flour in the oven and everything. Because she tried to make gumbo not too long ago, and she and I both stood over for an hour and stirred.
Give it a recipe.
You're gonna give me the. Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. I think I got excited. I don't want to give it away. Did we leave anything out? In closing, is there anything else you'd like to say or touch on, or do you have a message for your fans and viewers who have watched you?
I want to say excuse me, thank God for the love in the hearts of all of those who have supported me, those that couldn't, I'm sure, in their heart. And just remember, the love in your heart is not put there to stay. Love becomes love when you give it away, not in money, but in just kindness, service to someone who may not even appreciate it. Because you want God to say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. You've done a good fight. You kept the faith. Always remember, God keeps a better record than man. Why? Because he lives in you. Why? He created you. With him, we could do nothing.
Yeah.
I love people. Even though I got a lot of them laugh, but I know they don't really like my mouth.
Hey, well, that's their problem.
Well,
I like your mouth.
Be honest. I tell everybody, my customers love it.
Right.
When you go to bed at night, if you have not lied,
Uh-huh.
you could go to sleep. Why? Because, once again, information in a conversation brings manipulation. Also, information and observations is first cousin. I can give you all the information you want, but watch my action.
Right.
So they first cousin. Like love is a four-letter word, hate is a four-letter word. They're so close, you got to learn which one it is.
Oh my gosh. Look at you. Well, listen.
Yeah.
This is an honor. This is a conversation I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. I'm so glad we were able to do this. I did miss our visits when I was doing the news, but I'll take this. 35, 40 minutes with you is truly a blessing, and I am very grateful.
Well,
And the food was good, too.
if it's anything that you think of before you stop, I am not one to lie. Because when people lie,
Right.
they think the person they talk to is dumb when you see him through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach my students honesty is the best policy.
Amen to that.
And work don't kill anybody. You die ducking work. You say, what do you mean, Ma? Well, while you're thinking all that time how that boy doing it, do it and get it over with.
Yeah. Well, here's to another 34 or more years. Get you to 129, like you said. Thank you again for the honor of your time and this amazing food and everything. And
thank you.
Best wishes and continued health with everything that you're
I'm
dealing
going to
with.
be fine. Bad grass don't die and lay down. And everybody, I like, let me just make y'all laugh.
Okay.
The reason I say bad grass don't die, when you roll over it, it lay flat till you go get more gas and roll over it again.
Yeah.
So it don't never die. You're just laying it down.
Okay.
And always remember, don't buy a car to sit in the garage for beauty. Cars are made for duty.
Okay.
Well, that car ain't going nowhere.
I know.
Well, if you don't want to get muddy, don't walk in the mud.
Okay.
If you don't want to smell like a dumpster, don't hang around it.
Okay. All great pearls of wisdom from the great, the legend, Ma Harper. Thank you very much for your time.
Don't fret, don't sweat. God ain't through yet.
Amen to that. Preach! Thank you. There she goes. I don't have any more. That's it. Another episode of Pickup Lines. We'll be back again very soon. Have a great day. Bye for now.